Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has made me feel nostalgic for a game that I've played for the first time. This is a game with fresh ideas on old systems, music that has the memorability of classic JRPGs like Final Fantasy. What Final Fantasy VII is to me now, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 will be to me in 30 years' time. But why is that? Give me 10 minutes of your time and I will attempt to answer that question. To do that, let's set the foundation. The premise of this game is a people living in a fractured world, a post-cataclysmic event that happened 67 years ago. After that event, in the distance remained a tower with a number glowing on it. That number, starting with 100, has determined the age at which people died, known as the Gamage. Every year, the number decreases by 1, seemingly painted by a figure sat at the base of this monolith. 67 years later, we find our characters witnessing the transition to 33, preparing to say goodbye to their loved ones. However, each year, an expedition is sent out across the waters to try and take down this figure, known as the Paintress. Each expedition is named after that number, and here we find ourselves with Expedition 33, setting out to discover the mysteries of this event, the who, the how, the why, and ultimately to take down this Paintress and save those who remain. I will say no more about the game's plot, as this game deserves to be discovered organically. What I will tell you though is that this game does an excellent job of its world building and story. Of particular note, the characters feel very grounded here, and there's a lot of conversation that happens during travel and exploration, doing a lot of the heavy lifting for building that world out while you travel. A highlight for me was finding the notes from previous expeditions that have been left behind, laying the groundwork for the journey that we have now embarked upon. The story feels grounded, despite being a fantasy. It strikes a great balance between lightheartedness and dark fantasy, from dark gripping scenes with your characters covered in blood, fighting for their lives, to meeting the little gestural creatures that speak in their cutesy made-up language, whilst a cheerful, jaunty French tune plays in the background. When the game wants to be serious, it has no trouble switching tones and grabbing your attention, but knows that brevity is needed every now and then. The story is excellently paced. It maintains an air of mystery throughout, ever driving you forward like a good book that you just have to read the next chapter, while also drip-feeding you new information to be more than satisfying along the journey. And that's what this game is about, the journey. It immediately gave me an almost Lord of the Rings feel, a destination in the distance that we can see with an exact goal in mind, a group of interesting characters making that journey together. It's hard to say what any of that journey entails without entering spoiler territory, but if you're anything like me, you will fall in love with the premise of this game. Something else I expect most people to fall in love with here are the jaw-dropping visuals. The graphics are absolutely stunning, and I'm not often the type of person to get caught up in a game's graphics past an hour into playing, but it seems like every new zone I walked into, I was in awe of the beauty and fidelity of this game. Even after 20 hours, I was stopping just to admire and take in the surroundings. It's easy to say that this game is technically great in its visuals, but the design choices of the environments and the style of it all is just as good, if not better, than how it looks in a technical sense. Characters are all beautifully animated, though I will say that lip syncing left a bit to be desired here. In terms of presentation, the game it's absolute cinema. It's rare to see a game that presents itself this well in terms of direction and camera angles, and it adds so much to the emotional weight of the game. The performances from the likes of Ben Starr, Andy Serkis, Jennifer English, and so many more are, to say the least, Oscar-worthy, in my opinion. Exploration here reminds me a lot of God of War, looking for the path that isn't quite the main route and turning back if you are on the main one. You just have that general feel of you just want to see everything. The game actually has a great sense of comedy as well. The characters don't talk like children, as seems to be the mainstay of media these days, and the jokes actually have a real feel to them, like jokes between friends, not this Marvel style of comedy that media seems to have adopted lately. Something else that just has a feel to it is the music in this game. It is so fitting for each moment. Each character has their own theme. The crescendos of the high moments, the emotional highs just have such a perfect essence to them. The music feels like it ties in so perfectly with the visuals and the themes of the story as well. A lot of the tracks have that earworm factor as well, giving that feeling that I thought was now locked to nostalgia with the likes of the old Final Fantasies. This soundtrack felt nostalgic. Whilst being completely new, it's a feeling I can't quite do justice with my words, but nonetheless, I've had these songs playing non-stop since I finished the game. Now, whilst not quite an earworm, the game does have a brainworm quality about it, and that is to say that the game has so much buildcraft potential in its combat that this is something I found myself just thinking about when I'm not playing the game and theorizing the builds. The game has a Picto and Lumina system. Pictos are something that you pick up randomly in the world, enemies can drop them, you can find them from exploration. But it's something that you equip. Each character can equip up to 3, and after 4 battles, it is something that you learn permanently. And that is then something that you can slot in with a Lumina, and you have a certain amount of Lumina available, and each skill takes up a different amount. And you can start mixing and matching and build crafting with those Luminas from the Pictos that you have learned. To add on to that, each unique weapon has special effects that just feed into that complexity of the buildcraft, and it is super satisfying to figure out something unique. For example, you can make a build revolving around counterattacks, you can make a build that revolves around being low health, there's builds revolving around buffs and extending those buffs and buffs chaining together. It's that there's so many options and it is super satisfying. The game's combat itself has a very Final Fantasy X feel to it to me. And by that I mean that instead of having the ATB bar, which is so iconic with these turn type games, it actually has just that standard turn order that we saw in Final Fantasy X. The unique twist on this is the very Souls-like mechanic of if you're good at this game, you can do it without taking damage at all. All attacks are dodgeable, all attacks are parryable. The difference there being that dodges have a very forgiving window, parries have a very tight window, but parries have a counterattack attached to them if you parry each attack in a single instance. As well, all of your character's attacks have QTE inputs attached to them, almost like combos from Legend of Dragoon. These are sometimes optional and they boost your damage. Some attacks are completely contingent on successfully inputting those button inputs to be able to execute the ability. It is something I'm surprised we've not seen an evolution on as of late, but it is something that I hope the likes of Square Enix are taking note of and realizing that turn-based combat is not dead. It is something that can be engaging and evolved upon. I will say, regarding that evolution, the dodging and parrying in this game is basically required to progress. The settings will tell you that one of the easier settings is not really required, and that for the standard setting, it's recommended. This is not really true. It is absolutely necessary to get through to the end of the game. Each enemy has got its own unique set of rules to its combat patterns that you should really learn. You can probably get through some of the smaller fights without really learning them, but I would recommend it. It does make it a bit easier that they have a certain rhythm game quality about them, but it does take some getting used to in the early hours. All in all, this plays like no other single-player game available right now. Rather, many games brought together. The cinematography of God of War, the gameplay of Final Fantasy mixed with Sekiro and Legend of Dragoon. Even platforming sections hidden around the world inspired by Only Up. If I had to give a negative for the game, it's that there's no auto-advance option for the voiced dialogue with text boxes. It's a little archaic to having to be hitting a button to advance each voice line. I don't think I'm asking a lot to expect an auto-advance option in 2025, but this is a small nitpick in an otherwise fantastic title. I have no doubt that people will be talking about this game for a long time to come, and for me, it is an immediate Game of the Year contender. I give this an easy 5 out of 5. I can say with confidence this game is going to be Game of the Year, and it is going to make waves in the industry. I'm very confident that we will see iterations and incorporations of the formulas in this game in the years to come. The game can be found for as low as $35, but I would be happy paying full price for this as $60 or $70, and it's just an immediate buy. If you enjoyed this, please drop us a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Now get out there and uncover the mysteries of Lumiere.
Others to discover the secrets of our universe. Some to protect loved ones. Others to find meaning in our all too short lives.